Hi there, Cosmic Family. My name is Eliel. I am here today to talk about the astrological energies of the next week from July 20th until July 26th. So we are in the face of a very pretty intense week because of the configuration that I mentioned in the last video. This basket, the basket of Barbold, that is involving all the transpersonal planets, and Jupiter in Leo is going to be intensified. Beyond this, everything that is going to be manifested in the next days, it is on our way, and it is very related already with the next full moon in Aquarius that I'm going to talk about in the next video. Because it happens the next week. But it is a lunation that is going to show us how and in which areas we need to open up to forms of freedom and authenticity that require for us to let go of parts that are making us feel in a prison. Perhaps we need to face fears, perhaps we need to recognize the power that we have to cut those those chains. So this is also about recognizing the excessive power that we could cede to external circumstances or certain people, or how much we want to control situations that aren't in our power to control. So we are going to feel all of this from the beginning with the transits that I'm going to mention right now. And as a last clarification, this full moon is the last one, the previous one to the eclipses. So the wheel of changes is turning around, and the changes are not minor. There are endings of cycles that, they don't have return, and beginnings that cannot wait anymore. So we begin on the day on July 20th and 21st. Jupiter in Leo is going to perfect all of the connections with the transpersonal planets, the trine with Neptune retrograde in Aries, the opposition with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, the sextile with Uranus in Gemini. So this means that there are callings of the soul, Neptune retrograde in Aries, that we were in contact already. These are great opportunities of growth and expansion, but in many cases they are going to involve a radical change, perhaps with Uranus in Gemini, detachment of something that is not proposing evolution. Could be a space, could be groups of people. This is also Pluto in Aquarius, or could be a form of behavior or a perception over the present circumstances, but because not always the freedom that we want to experiment in our reality is coming from pushing away a circumstance that is causing discomfort, but to open up to the revelation or the learning that is showing to us. And I'm going to do a lot of emphasis again in the opposition with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, because on July 22nd, the Sun moves out from Cancer and enters in Leo, and is going to activate a lot more this basket. So it is going to create the same aspects that Jupiter is already doing, because it is going to be in conjunction with Jupiter in Leo, in a square with Chiron in Taurus, in a trine with Neptune retrograde in Aries, sextile to Uranus in Gemini, and opposition to Pluto in Aquarius, retrograde in Aquarius. All of this is going to be perfected the next week. So Jupiter, let's make the introduction. Jupiter, which is the planet that is synchronic with cycles of growth, expansion, and abundance, is opening these doors, but only if we are willing to transform ourselves. I mean, the true expansion of Jupiter happens when we are approaching situations with a lot of purpose, that are truly aligned with the sense of our path. And the shadow of Jupiter could be linked with this seeking of immediate satisfaction, the excesses, the optimisms that are actually false ones, the superficial joys, as things that we are using as an escapism or distraction of what truly can bring that growth. Because opening that door with an opposition with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius requires for us to make changes that not always are easy, nor comfortable. So Jupiter amplifies. And what is amplifying right now are amazing opportunities, of finding the function that is making us shine in the world, the function through which we can offer light to other people, or connecting with people whom we admire, with whom we can accompany with the harmonic aspects that is creating, but at the same time, with the opposition with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, this could also increase or make more visible our fears, extreme emotional states, the pain that we didn't want to face, or or to feel, obsessions, attachments, the will of control, the resistances, in the face of the things that are not changing because they are pushing us to change from the inside, aspects of us that we are judging unpleasant, that we are rejecting. But if we encourage ourselves to see them and to integrate them, they could have a potential behind, of the energy that we are not positioning perhaps in the best way. Because when we are rejecting seeing those parts of ourselves, then life must have to bring those aspects from the outside, and we are projecting that in other people, and they end up being the enemy because they awaken the inner conflict, the anger, or what we were repressing or denying. So it is very common that when we are judging someone or something from this moral superiority, which is one of the shadows of Leo, with anger, that is truly reflecting something that we need to integrate, or that we are reproducing the same incoherences. For example, if we are bothered because that person is showing himself or herself in that way, it is making something ridiculous, and perhaps we don't want to be like that person, but many times we are so much worried about how other people are seeing us that we are not being authentic. And that's why we feel that anger towards that person. And we could apply this to whatever situation is awakening, this is emotional state of rejection or an extreme emotional state. Fears could emerge, these fears of the inner child. That is also very linked with Leo, the fear of abandonment, of rejection, or towards exposition in some cases. There are dynamics of abusive dynamics and manipulation dynamics that could turn very visible, both the manipulations that we could allow of other people, as much as the ones that we could exercise to impose control or to attain something from someone else, the selfish behaviors that we sustain to force the attention, or other people, for other people giving their energy to us. But they are truly emerging from this low self-esteem. And, not all of these behaviors are something that we see as something very selfish from the outside. I mean, there could be people that are turning off their lights and they are abandoning themselves to give to others, waiting for that recognition. So selfishness could also be, could seem to be something that is good for other people. Also, we could talk about limited beliefs. This is very linked with Jupiter, that we could be projecting in certain collectives or groups of people. We are pointing their imbalances. As an example of this could be people of that country are that way, or we could be very proud of things we are making identity in, and there could be unethical behaviors towards other people, and we justify that because I am like this or because we are like this, when the look that we have towards the world is actually speaking of ourselves, of how we are, and the justification that we could do of our imbalanced or aggressive behaviors towards other people just because we don't like them or something like that is a form of manifestation of the ego in imbalance. So perhaps behind that we are feeling that we need to defend ourselves from something, or we are seeing an aspect of the other person that we are containing. So the conflicts and the battles that are going nowhere, and this could also be other manifestation. And if they are going nowhere, it is because we are approaching that with no intention of finding solutions, but of being right and win. So with the Sun in Leo entering in a square with Chiron in Taurus, much of these dynamics could emerge from these primary wounds of, of not giving value to ourselves. And, this is the reason many times that we are attaching to circumstances, behaviors, relationships, just because we are not giving value to our energy, attention, and to who we are. So we continue to July 23rd. Mercury is going to be direct that day, is going to awaken in the degree 16 with 16 of Cancer. So Mercury is going to be stationary. This means that it seems to not be moving from mathematical degree until the day July 27th. And when Mercury awakens is, the days when the misunderstandings are happening, the problems with communication, with traveling, with the exchanges of money could also be. But remember that this is not to blame Mercury. It is something that could hide a certain lesson of maturity or a boundary in this case, or something that we need to understand, because Mercury is going to awaken in a square with a Saturn that is already going to be stationary too the whole week, because Saturn is going to start its retrogradation on July 26th. It starts the retrogradation in the degree 14. So this is other transit, the retrogradation of Saturn, that could add a certain quality of challenge, especially if there is something in the last months that we have identified that we need to assume responsibility and we didn't yet, perhaps because there is an initiative to build something that we didn't take, a boundary that we didn't establish, a direction that we assumed, but we are understanding that it's not coming from this inner adult, from our inner authority, behaviors that could cross boundaries of other people. So we are going to review what we have been doing until this point and what needs to be corrected to build that what our soul wants to see manifested in our reality. So our patience could be tested, could be delays, restrictions that are indicating what we need to rectify. So coming back to Mercury on July 24th, it is going to create a sextile with Venus in Virgo. And this is an excellent moment to take to practice decisions, habits that we want to implement, that we understand that are in profound coherence with desires of the soul. It is also a very good aspect to have a conversation that could be very, very realistic on how we are feeling, over a circumstance. Could be an inner conversation or could be a conversation with other person. So we could bring ourselves to the reality on the things that are working or not working. And in the cases in which this is possible, to bring to earth ways in we could do this refinement in dynamics in relationships. So thank you, everyone. See you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.